This online episode is made possible by the support of the Mulch and Soil Council to assure the products you use are properly labeled, conform to industry standards, and are tested for contaminants like arsenic and cyst on mulch and soil with the Council's certification seal on the package. Okay guys, quick, name some ways you use water every day.
Drinking,
Cooking,
bathing,
washing dishes,
laundry.
and watering lawns and gardens.
Perfect. There's a huge demand for water, but what's scary is of all the water we use, about half of it goes to waste. And when it comes to outdoor irrigation, we've got some great ideas for conserving more of this precious resource.
From San Diego to Seattle, today we'll show you some of those ways.
And I'll be sharing with you a delicious recipe using drought-tolerant herbs.
All that and more today on Growing a Greener World. All right, now let's get this water off, okay guys?
This program was funded by the following.
Fiskars designs ergonomic products that empower gardeners to accomplish their goals. At Fiskars, we believe that all things, even the simplest, can be made better and smarter.
This program is sponsored in part by Burpee Home Gardens, providing garden-ready vegetable and herb plants, backed by the 125-year heritage of Burpee. Available at your local garden center.
At Liquid Fence, we work in harmony with nature to help protect your garden, your family, and your pets with all-natural, environmentally friendly animal repellents and lawn and garden products. Liquid Fence, all-natural products to help you address some of nature's most difficult problems.
At Subaru, we care about preserving the environment. That's why we build our vehicles in zero landfill plants, which produce less landfill waste in a year than a single-family household in a day. Subaru, a proud sponsor of Growing a Greener World.
The Earth is often referred to as the water planet because so much of its surface is covered by it. Patty, you remember back in school when the teacher always used that globe and pointed to all the blue, stating that 75% of its surface was covered by water.
But I bet she never told you that 97% of that is salt water and another 2% is either frozen or inaccessible.
And that leaves only 1% of the entire planet's water supply for everyone on Earth to use for their drinking and their bathing and washing their food and their clothes and their cars.
Not to mention watering their lawns and landscapes.
Now think about this. Between 1950 and 1980, the world's population doubled, but the demand on that 1% of water more than tripled.
Today, it's estimated that every American uses an average of 100 gallons of water per day, and 25 to 40% of that goes to outdoor use. The EPA says that about half of what we use outdoors is wasted. If we only use the water that we needed, we could save 3 billion gallons of water every day, starting today.
As gardeners and weekend warriors, we're a pretty large force at over 90 million strong. So there's a significant opportunity to make a big difference and save a lot of water. And it could be as simple as fixing a leaky faucet or spigot. Think that pesky leak is just a drop in the bucket? I bet you didn't know that 1 drip per second amounts to over 3,000 gallons of wasted water in a year. And that's just from a single spigot. Just imagine if every one of us fixed just one leak around our house. We can also cut down on our waste by changing our watering techniques. You'd be amazed at how much water is lost to evaporation and overwatering. If we could just learn how much to apply and then apply it at the right time of day, we'd save a lot of water and still get the same great results.
Okay, we're talking about water conservation today. I'm sure you've already heard that when you're shaving your face or brushing your teeth over the sink, you want to turn the water off, and that's absolutely true. A lot of water does go down the drain, but what about in the kitchen? Well, if I'm in a hurry and I need hot water right away for, say, pasta, we've all done this, right? You turn the water on, you turn it to hot. It's not hot yet. It's not hot yet. and that's a lot of water that goes down the drain. So keep a pitcher or something else that can hold all this water, not hot yet, off to the side, because this water's fine. Let it sit out. It's perfectly drinkable. It's great for the plants. If you have a fish tank, no problem, and there you go. That is how much water would have been wasted had I just went ahead and poured it down the drain. Come to think of it, that's enough to make pasta in itself. You guys hungry?
Harvesting rainwater is an excellent way to get free water to use whenever and wherever you need it, and rain barrels are a great way to do that. Plus, they're readily accessible and easy to install. And rainwater is the best source of water to protect the health of your plants and the soil.
There's another reason for harvesting and retaining water on your property.
Absolutely. As water moves across the land, it's taking with it contaminants and sediments that ultimately lead to a watershed. Now that pollutes the water, harms wildlife, and helps to break down biodiversity and ecosystem.
So the more you know about protecting this precious resource, the more you can do to protect your little corner of the world.
And the world we all share together. It's important that we all do our part. It may seem like just a drop in the bucket, but that's the whole point. One person making a difference in her own little corner of the world, California native Nance Thurman. She's a gardening expert to be sure. Designer, sought-after speaker, award-winning author and columnist who focuses on water-wise approaches to creating beautiful gardens. She's also the television host of A Growing Passion. Nan takes viewers into their own backyards to demonstrate ways to create attractive spaces that are in tune with the natural environment. So it seems only fitting that today we visit Nan in her own backyard, where she continues to learn how things grow while always promoting a green, sustainable approach to gardening.
Having grown up in California, I've been aware of water shortages probably all my life. Even though I haven't lived here my whole life, I've lived other places in the meantime, I've gardened here most of my life. And so water's always been a big issue, and it seems like from the beginning my concern has been, how can I create the most beautiful garden with the least amount of water possible? Well, one thing I always tell people is that it's really important to choose plants that work here in California. We, for example, have a Mediterranean climate, which means that we have long, hot, dry months of summer, which is why people like to come here. And that's great, but it's hard on a plant because it means that when it's hottest, there's no rainfall, and that means we have to water. So I look for plants that come from other similar climates because they're adapted to living through that long, hot, dry period with little or no water. That's what's really important. What's your climate? What's your rainfall? How can you find plants that work best in your climate without much additional water? It doesn't matter, are we in Southern California? Are we in Michigan? Are we in Florida? Are we in Portland? The concept's the same. What's your climate? What's available? Where are the plants that will live in your climate with the least amount of input? That's what we're looking for. People are always amazed when they learn the facts about water and how water is tied to energy. So for example, I'm in San Diego. San Diego imports 80% of its water. The last time our population was small enough to live on the water that we get naturally was in the 40s. That's amazing. So our water comes from the Sierra Nevadas, it comes from the Colorado Rockies. It travels hundreds and hundreds of miles to get here, and that takes energy. One of the most amazing facts is that in California, we spend 20% of our energy budget. 20% of the whole state's energy budget goes to purifying and moving water. 20%. That's huge. So if I turn on my faucet and I let it run for 5 minutes, that takes as much energy as a 60-watt light bulb burns in 12 hours. Here's the thing that people don't realize. You flip a switch on the wall, you think, okay, I turned on the electricity, right? But you turn on your spigot and you don't think of that as being electricity. But sure, of course it is, because you don't live downhill from the water source. It's not gravity fed. There's energy pushing the water to the other side of that gate valve so that it's pressurized, and when you turn the gate valve on, the water flows out. But you don't think of it that way because it's mechanical, it's not electrical. But there's a hell of a lot of electricity behind that that's making that whole system work. When we started working on this garden, we had toddlers, barely toddlers. And my husband insisted we had to have grass. I didn't want grass. He said, no, we have to have grass for the kids. All right, so we put in this big lawn. And I whittled away at it little bit by little bit, but it was still a big lawn. when my son got to be like, I don't know, about 13, one day he says to me, Mom, why do we have all this grass? I thought, all right, that's it. Go to my husband, honey, the lawn's going. He said, all right, fine, we can get rid of the lawn. So we spent about 2 years getting rid of the lawn. And once that happened, I just had all this space to play with, and I've just created this whole new environment. But no more lawn.
Wow, Nan, you really did get rid of all your lawn. Tell me about this area right here, because it's the only thing that I see that even emulates a lawn.
You know, if it had been up to me, I would have just planted this whole space. But I have a husband who likes green. And also, you know, you do need kind of a place to rest your eyes. And so I decided I would make this into a low water meadow. So it's not a lawn, but it's still a green space to rest your eyes.
So 6 months ago, these all came in as plugs of the same size.
Yeah, little 2-inch plugs.
Wow. So some are filling in more than others, and I imagine they'll all eventually do that, because I can see they're breaking through now and filling in. Are you going to have to water this at all?
Yeah, but actually I'm using these new style spray nozzles that are rotating spray nozzles, and they're much more efficient in their use of water than the old-fashioned overhead sprays.
How so?
They do a number of things. They have larger drops so they don't evaporate quite as quickly. They also have an adjustable distance so that you get the same amount of water delivered over an area, rather than kind of if you have 10 gallons, it's 10 gallons, whether it's 5 feet or 15 feet. And they're just more efficient. The way they're set up is more efficient.
Well, I can easily understand how that would apply no matter where you live, but what about the fact that here we are in Southern California and you have plants that are adapted to this region? How about the person that's watching this in the Northeast? What are they going to get out of this?
That's a great question. The thing is, there are water shortages in something like 24 or 25 states in the US and of course across the world. And the way our water resources are, if you don't have water shortages now, you're going to have them really soon. So you got to start thinking about it. And besides that, if you want a sustainable garden, go with the plants that are adapted to where you live. They're going to need the least amount of fertilizer, the least amount of care, and the least amount of additional water.
And that's not to say that they don't need any water at all once they're in the ground and established. Occasionally they need that supplemental irrigation.
Yeah, sure.
But then it's a matter of doing it the most efficient way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, in the rest of my landscape, other than here, I have drip, and if you want, I'll show you that.
Yeah, excellent. Let's go take a look.
All right.
Ah, yes, the vegetable garden. Now that's the type of garden everyone should have in their landscape, no matter where they live, right, Nan?
Absolutely.
But vegetable plants are not necessarily known for their water efficiency.
Well, that's true. So when you have a vegetable garden, then what you have to do is you have to pay attention to how you water it and be really careful about your water usage. So for example, in my garden, I use drip irrigation. Here, I can show it to you right here.
Okay.
So plants don't need water on their leaves. So I never quite understand why we put spray over the top, you know, and hope it gets to the right place. What it needs water is at the roots. It needs it right here at the soil. So drip irrigation does exactly that. You see how this is? There's just like a drip coming out of
Tiny
a little bit of time.
pinhole.
That's right. Well, actually, it's not a pinhole. There's an emitter embedded in this line. It's better than the kind with the pinhole because this is a measured amount of water, and also this doesn't clog like the pinholes do. So this little tiny bit of water goes right into the soil. It's so efficient that even though my neighborhood is on water restrictions, there's no restriction on this.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like 99, who knows what percent efficient, whereas overhead irrigation is 50% efficient. That means that we assume that 50% of that water is lost.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, on drip irrigation, I've talked to a lot of people that tend to shy away from these or never get these established because they think they're complicated to set up.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but that's really not true. And it's not just in vegetable gardens you want to do it. I do it in all my landscape. But really, it's like big tinker toys, you know? I mean, there's just little pieces, and once you understand what they do, you put them together, you plug them together, and if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Now, the icing on the cake, though, is the mulch. You have mulch going over all your lines.
Right, right. And so the idea is, once the soil's wet, you want to keep the water in the soil as long as possible so it doesn't evaporate off into the air. So I always water pretty much for the same amount of time, but by having the mulch on the surface, it's an insulating layer and I don't have to water as often. Again, saving water.
Yeah, and that's not the only benefit of having mulch.
Oh yeah, that's true. It improves the soil, it brings in earthworms. It's just, it's kind of the magic bullet in the garden.
Nan, there are two other concepts that you speak of all the time when it comes to water efficiency, Hydra Zoning and then the Canary Test. Talk more about those.
They're really important concepts. Hydra zoning means that you put plants that need the same amount of water in the same irrigation zone. It's real easy. Like when you go to look for new plants, if you've got sun, you look for a sun plant. If you've got shade, you look for a shade plant. So now we're adding to it, we're going to have a dry plant here and we're going to have our wetter plants there. Not too many of the wet plants, but where you really get a lot of bang for your buck, like right by the front door. So mostly dry plants and a couple of wet plants, but watered separately so they both get watered appropriately.
Right.
So that's really an important concept. And then people ask me all the time, how do I know when to water? It's hard. So one way I tell them is I tell them that they should go do the Canary Test. And the Canary Test is how you figure out how often to water. So here's what I tell people. Pick a particular irrigation zone, run it, and then turn it off. Okay, mark on your calendar the day you turned it off, and then watch the plants in that zone. You're watching for the first plant to look a little wilty, a little sad. That's your canary. That's the plant that says, okay, I should have been watered yesterday. So you go back to your calendar. If it was 6 days, you water at 5 days. If it was 10 days, you water at 9 or 8 days, because you don't want them to get wilted. You just want to know how long you can go in between waterings.
Push the limit then.
Push the limit.
And ironically, more plants are killed by overwatering than underwatering.
Absolutely. The simplest way to save water is to stop watering as often. And that's what the Canary Test will tell you. And do it throughout the year because it's going to be different months of the year. But ultimately, you'll figure out exactly how often you need to water.
And you can apply that to your entire garden.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if you're in Maine or Massachusetts or Miami or wherever else.
Excellent. And if you want to know about the Canary Test, check out our website at growingagreenerworld.com. We'll give you the original explanation for it right there. This is great. Now let's go see some more of your garden.
Okay. Where do you want to go, over here?
Anywhere.
All right, come over here.
Fantastic. Sometimes it's not just about conserving water, but what to do with the excess to buffer the runoff. As water moves across your land, sediments and chemicals are moving with it. And when chemicals that are commonly found in fertilizers, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, reach a watershed, they can have adverse effects. Rain gardens are a good way to retain that runoff. They're typically created at a low point on the property to create a temporary holding area. The excess water percolates through the soil where it's filtered, eliminating much of the problem of sediments and chemicals being carried into natural bodies of water. Near Seattle, Washington, Eagle Song is the staff horticulturalist at the Willows Lodge. It sits adjacent to a vibrant stream, so protecting it and the wildlife that depend on it from runoff is critically important. One solution was a rain garden that doubles as a pond.
When you walk through our gardens here at Willows Lodge, people feel something that's different. They might not consciously know what's the feeling, but they feel good because the gardens feel good.
Yes.
And so we create this rain garden. We got support from management to do something that might help with the greater region, because what I like to think is that the hotel is nested in the valley, the Sammamish Valley. The Sammamish Valley is nested in the greater Puget Sound region, and everything we do with those whole nests inside of whole nests inside of whole nests impacts the whole area.
Yes.
So once we have that in place, then we can see that this not just serves us to make this area more beautiful, it also serves the river that we live next door to, the salmon that come up the river, the valley that's an agricultural valley that's been said to be one of the 5 richest valleys in the United States for soil. So that gives us the opportunity to act in a way that impacts positively all that nesting.
Yeah, I like to call that creating the garden to weather any storm.
Yeah, that's
Not only does it apply to a literal garden, but to the gardens in our own lives.
Yes, that's right, that interior garden.
Just as important as it is to keep unintended water away from low-lying areas, too much water is rarely a friend to most plants. That's why herbs are such a hit when it comes to plants that thrive with little water. Drought-tolerant herbs are not only beautiful in the garden, they add that special touch to any dish.
You know, the other day I was at the grocery store and I saw this great little bottle of herb and spice rub, and I thought, why would we pay up to $6 a bottle on something we can make on our own with stuff we already have in our own kitchens? Come this way. Now, what I'm talking about here is an assortment of different types of foods and the herbs and spices that work perfectly with them with stuff you make on your own at home using, again, the ingredients we already paid for. So we have vegetables, we have fish, chicken, pork would even work, and beef, okay? We're gonna start with some really simple ingredients. How about salt? Right? Just simple salt. The reason why I'm adding salt, other than, well, everything needs a little bit of salt, salt absorbs a lot of oil, okay? And that's one of the main ingredients in herb and spice rubs, is salt. What oils am I talking about? Well, black pepper goes well with everything, so we'll add a little black peppercorns, just like that. What other types of oils? Well, how about garlic? Garlic goes great with, pork and vegetables, everything, so we'll add a clove of garlic. And you know those cool little tubes, the stores that cost up to $12, $15 that you just throw the garlic in and it rolls and the skin comes off? How about these puppies right here? These are my hands. I was born with these. And we'll just roll it, and there you go. Skin comes right off. Save yourself $15. And we'll top that right in there, okay? So we have garlic, salt, pepper. What about some fresh thyme? Fresh thyme is amazing. We'll just pull off some of these leaves just like that and plop those right in there. Fish, vegetables, chicken, pork, it all goes really well with thyme. Now, one more thing that works really well with chicken, fish, vegetables, lemon zest works really, really well. So I'm gonna use this microplane and zest off some of this zest right in the top, not the pith, and that's why I'm using the microplane. So I'm going for just the yellow portion, which has all the oils, okay? That's our common theme happening here today, are the oils. And I'm using an organic lemon, because I don't want anything nasty going in my, my spice rub, so I just use an organic lemon and pull just the outside right off. You see that white portion, that pith? That might be a little bit bitter, and I'll leave this behind. It's good juice later on. It's great. Lemon zest goes right in there. And that's all we need. This first dry rub is just about done. Store stuff's got nothing, that's homemade stuff. This looks amazing. Here we go. Watch how easy this is. Just scoop it right out, just like this. There we are. And I'll leave a little bit in there, and I'll tell you why. Because steak goes really well with rosemary, but rosemary is a little too powerful for some of these other things over here, like chicken, some vegetables. So we're gonna go hardcore with full oil with the rosemary. Let me show you how easy this is to take all the rosemary off the stem. Start from the end, okay, and work your way down. Just like that. It's like a little pom-pom. Look at this. All of that is right there. Stem's empty. And I'll add these rosemary leaves to what we already have in there, that lemon, that garlic, salt and pepper, delicious. And a quick blend, and we've got all of our bases covered. Oh yeah, I mean you can just smell that. Here, smell that. Amazing. The rosemary, garlic, lemon, salt and pepper, it's all right there. So spoon that out in this bowl, and that's gonna go perfect with that steak. Because I know that Joe and Patty are out there working hard. I don't think they would mind a steak dinner at all. Move it right on there. You know what? About 15 minutes each side on the grill. And herbs made at home and spice rubs and such have never been made so easy.
No matter where you live, growing drought-tolerant plants is a smart idea that matters now more than ever. And with so many choices to beautify our gardens and perk up our plates, who wouldn't want to do that?
You know, guys, we'd be pretty hard-pressed to live without water.
Absolutely, and with an increasing demand on a finite resource, we should all be working harder to conserve it.
As we've seen today, less is more when it comes to watering our plants and landscapes.
And for additional information on managing your outdoor watering use responsibly, check us out on the web at growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Joe Lample.
I'm Patty Moreno.
And I'm Nathan Lowe.
And we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World.
Hey guys, anybody up for a dip? It's kind of cold though.
I just ate.
Yeah, me neither.
This program was funded by the following.
Fiskars designs ergonomic products that empower gardeners to accomplish their goals. At Fiskars, we believe that all things, even the simplest, can be made better and smarter.
This program is sponsored in part by Burpee Home Gardens, providing garden-ready vegetable and herb plants, backed by the 125-year heritage of Burpee. Available at your local garden center.
At Liquid Fence, we work in harmony with nature to help protect your garden, your family, and your pets with all-natural, environmentally friendly animal repellents and lawn and garden products. Liquid Fence, all-natural products to help you address some of nature's most difficult problems.
At Subaru, we care about preserving the environment. That's why we build our vehicles in zero landfill plants, which produce less landfill waste in a year than a single-family household in a day. Subaru, a proud sponsor of Growing a Greener World.
If we all do our part, it really will add up, drop by drop. It doesn't seem like much. That's the point, isn't it? And I totally made that up.
Okay, good.
Take a dip.
Yeah. You want to swim in? You want to...
And I'll be sharing with you a delicious recipe using water-tolerant herbs. I swear, that was so weird.
To order the Green Gardener's Guide for information on gardening and living green for $16.95 plus shipping and handling, visit growingagreenerworld.com/books.
This program is presented by Blue Ridge PBS,